everybody, I'm Jeanette, a self-professed true crime nerd, and welcome to the Law and Murder Podcast, where we're going to be talking about true crime and exonerations. You ready? Let's get started. Hello, I'm back. Welcome to episode 15. I'm almost to 20. That's pretty cool. Most podcasts really end before episode 10, so I'm getting to the 1%ers. I don't know. Well, today I have two cases that have recently been in the news that are developing, and I plan to follow them. I wanted to tell you about them since you may not have heard about them. This is one of the different things that I wanted to do in this podcast, just to kind of make it a little bit different and do true crime current events, because I bounce back and forth between current things and way back in the day crimes. So I hope you enjoy this little segment of the podcast, and it will also give me a little bit of extra time to research some more extensive and crazy crimes. I have one in the works, and it's a bit on the longer side as far as research goes. But for this week, I hope you enjoy this little mini episode. I know that when I wake up in the morning, I get going on autopilot, and that's exactly what Jennifer Dulos did on the morning of May 24th, 2019. She got dressed and got her kids ready to go to school. Jennifer was a punctual woman, and being on time was considered to be late. I can see her being in the military with how punctual she is said to be, but she lived with her kids in an awesome home in Connecticut. But that morning she had a few meetings in New York City that she had to get to, so it was absolutely imperative that she was on time this day. After getting her kids ready for school, she dropped them off right on time at 8 in the morning. She had a lot going on in her life, taking care of her kids on her own and having to work to make ends meet. She was getting a divorce from her husband of 13 years, and their divorce proceedings started in 2017. And of course, when divorce happens, it brings out the monster in people, especially when it comes to the kids. I know, I've been there and done that, and no BS, it's the pits. Jennifer, during one of her court cases about custody, had told the judge that she was scared for her life and said that she was afraid that her ex-husband would kidnap the kids and kill her. Those are some serious allegations, and if you've heard the podcast Cold, this is kind of more or less the same scenario. If you don't, it's the case about Josh Powell, a guy from Washington State, whose wife was missing, and he was the only suspect in her disappearance. She had written in a journal that she kept at work, and she told her friends that if she was ever missing or dead, to give all the stuff that she had in her desk to the police because she was afraid of Josh. She also took video of all her belongings in case there was a divorce. And I mean, it's a really, really long story, but at the end of the day, she pretty much prophesied her disappearance. The judge in Jennifer's case seemed to have taken her allegations seriously, but it wasn't enough because on May 24th, she was supposed to pick up her children from school, and she wasn't there. No one had heard from her or had seen Jennifer since the morning of May 24th. Jennifer's ex-husband, or soon-to-be ex, was already seeing other people, and he started dating this chick named Michelle. They had been dating for some time, and they were just waiting on the divorce proceedings to be finished. Her husband is currently a suspect, but before I get into that, let's get into what his day was like according to his lawyer. The morning of May 24th, her ex had woken up, and cell phone and computer records show that he hung around his home until about 11 in the morning and then went to go meet his lawyer about the custody battle that he was having with his wife. And that meeting took some time. The thing is that Jennifer and Fotis, I think that's his name, were in their custody battle, and while his lawyer would reportedly say that he was on the way to win custody of his children during those proceedings, the newspapers report that the court records from a day that they had in court shows that a judge said that he had no regard for the law or a court ruling and that he would have supervised visitation of his children, and that Fotis was not to speak to his children in any language that was not known by the supervising person. I don't know about you, but that seems really fishy to me. This is an ongoing story, so I'm not going to jump to any conclusions, even though, I already have. But after his meeting with the lawyer on the day of the 24th, he then went to work and says that he let an employee use his truck, and according to the cell phone records, he was back at home at 5:30 in the afternoon. So in the lawyer's mind, there was no way that he was at his old residence, which is Jennifer's house, because he would not have had the time to go there. Jennifer had a housekeeper that came into the home around noon. She entered the home through one of the front doors or the side doors maybe, but not through the garage. But she had stated to the police that she didn't see anything out of place and just went on about her workday. Because, Jennifer wasn't supposed to be home, so why would she go and look for Jennifer anywhere in the home? When Jennifer's family called the police after she didn't pick up the kids from school to report her missing, the police went to Jennifer's home. When they looked around the home, they saw nothing out of place that would give them any sense of foul play. But then they went into the garage, and that gave them a very different impression. In the garage, they found blood stains on the floor, and it was later tested and found to be Jennifer's. The police started their investigation for more than a missing person. The police somehow had found surveillance video of someone that looks like Jennifer's ex drive up to a trash can and get rid of trash bags. In the video, it looked like there was someone else in the car, and that person looked like her ex's girlfriend, Michelle. They also had surveillance of the same guy in the same car drop a FedEx box down a storm drain. These items were found by the police, and when tested, they were found to be towels and sponges that tested positive for Jennifer's blood, and the box had license plates that belonged to Fotis, but they had been tampered with. The police arrested Fotis and his girlfriend for tampering with evidence, and they were both released on bond. It was a pretty hefty bond. The police have set out a wide search for Jennifer, but they haven't found anything at the time of me reporting this podcast to you. The police have looked in lakes and ponds with divers, and they have been going through the woods around where she lived with dogs, and to date, they have found nothing cluing the police on where she is, and of course, Fotis, according to him and his lawyer, is not guilty, so there's nothing. Just as if she had just vanished off the earth. The police have confiscated Fotis' vehicle, a computer server, a laptop, cell phone, external hard drives, and anything electronic they could get their hands on, and the kids are safe with family members at this time. Anyway, I'll keep you updated on how this story unfolds when I can get my hands on more information. So if you listen to a couple episodes when I was talking about Parabon and all these people getting caught for murders that they committed years and years and decades ago, well, the police are doing great with this DNA technology that we now have, and I really hope that so many of these unsolved murders and rapes get handled, and that these creeps, whoever they are, end up in jail instead of remaining free, not paying for the crimes that they committed. The second true crime current event I have is that of Darlene Krashoc. She was a 20-year-old girl with her whole life ahead of her. She joined the Army out of high school, and her first duty station was in Fort Carson, Colorado. She had hung out with her Army buddies, and on one evening in May, she went out with her friends to a local bar in town. Now, this bar, its name was Shuffles. Listen, I'm just going to pause here for real, though, because these bar names are out of control. I was talking to a friend of mine who worked in legal for a little while, and he told me a story about someone who had gotten in trouble. And he was at this bar, and I can't remember the name of it for the life of me, but it was some random name like Fluffies or something like that. Seriously, these bars, my goodness. Anyway, she was at this bar hanging out with her friends, dancing, drinking, and having a great time. I'm pretty sure we can all remember when we were 20, and if you are 20, cool. That's probably what you're doing now with your life. And she didn't have a worry in the world. Between the hours of midnight and 1 in the morning, she left the club. She didn't have a battle, I would presume. So who knows where she went. But just to give you a little bit of background, if you're not in the military, and I kind of take that for granted because I am and I was in the Army. But basically, the battle buddy system in the Army was you travel with somebody, you're always with somebody, you're never alone. Anytime you go somewhere, you have your battle with you. So I remember when I was in the Army, like we joke around and we call everybody battle. And I don't know why maybe she did leave with somebody. I don't know, but I couldn't get any articles from back in the day because this is why I don't research current crimes, but all of the news stories were, all the way to the last page, what happened with the whole DNA thing that I'm about to tell you. So the police were doing their rounds and they found Darlene laying on the floor nude behind a Korean club. They called it in, and when homicide got there, it was found that she was strangled with a coat hanger and leather straps. Darlene had been severely beaten, sexually assaulted, and this freaking jerk bit her. To the detectives, it looked as if she was just thrown out of the car and into the road like trash. I hope somebody punches this dude in the face in jail. This poor girl who was out there serving our country, being a good person, and hanging out with her friends had to go through such an absolutely devastating event, and I feel so entirely bad for her and her family because her family trusted that she was going to be fine, and she isn't. But no one would know why this would happen to her and who did this to her because in 1987, DNA wasn't even a thing, and we've come such a long way. Her mom did mention to investigators that she had really liked her career in the Army and wanted to re-enlist and serve more time. And the week before she was murdered, Darlene was on the phone with her mom, and she had told her mom that she had wanted to go AWOL and couldn't wait until her time in the Army was done. Darlene never told anyone why she felt that way, and if she only would have been 100% serious with her mother, they may have been able to catch her killer. I'm not blaming the victim here at all. This is totally not her fault. But had she not kept a secret from her mom with who she was trying to hide from, maybe there would be some kind of suspect's name. But listen, don't keep secrets. Tell someone if you have a bad feeling. If you have a bad feeling, you're probably right. 90% of the time when your body and your intuition tells you that something's wrong, unless you're like me with like snakes and stuff, but that's a story for another day. But if you have a bad feeling about someone or something is making you uncomfortable, tell somebody. The chances of a friend or family member doing something may be small, but it may answer questions later. Write it down somewhere. Do something. Don't keep stuff inside. Definitely don't keep creepers and all these people that make you uncomfortable. Like, don't leave that. Don't take that with you. In 1987, her case went dead cold. The Army stopped investigating, but kept the DNA sample in the hopes that it would help them one day. Well, in 2016, CID sent the sample to Parabon, that DNA place I told you about, and they came up with a suspect photo from what the DNA told them about his genealogy. The sketch is on my Instagram along with a picture of Darlene. So if you want to take a look at it, feel free. This picture didn't really generate any leads with CID, and they had no avenue to pursue, but they left it out there in case for somehow, some way, some reason, there was a lead. And then Parabon, man, this DNA company, they're super awesome. But anyway, when Parabon upped their DNA game, the Army went back to them and they found the guy, and he's still alive. Michael White was arrested for the murder of Darlene 32 long years later. And his picture, I'm trying so hard to keep this podcast not explicit, but that jerk face is also on my Instagram if you want to take a look. I have other choice words for this guy, but like I said, I'm trying to keep this podcast clean. Anyhow, as soon as I get more information on the case and this jerk face, I'll totally clue you in on how the proceedings go. Well, that's all I have for you this week, and I hope you enjoyed this mini episode, and I'll be back next week with another one. I hope you all have a good week and you enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for listening. Your support and your downloads and everything is absolutely amazing, and it makes it so much better to come in here and do the podcast for you guys, because all my little downloads are growing. So my little seed is growing into something big, and it's all because of you. Thank you so much for listening. Hey, I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to the show, and if you love the show, please leave a review on iTunes, and it would be even better if you shared it with your friends and got the word out. Until next time, bye.